Right out of high school and into real estate, Matt Salgado completed 35 transactions and $6.5 million in sales volume his first year as a real estate agent. He went on to be a 2023 RAS Rookie of the Year finalist. You don't want to miss today's episode. Matt's going to share his challenges and successes and offer up some tips and tricks for real estate success.
Welcome to Unlocking Real Estate, My First Commission, where we dive into real stories, big wins, and early lessons learned from highly successful rookie real estate agents and brokers. This is the series where we explore how real estate transforms lives, one home at a time, by sitting down each week with a new agent or broker who has found incredible success in their first year. Your hosts are instructors and leaders at Colibri Real Estate School, one of the largest real estate educators in the nation, where we focus on helping people like you get started or find continued success in their careers.
Hello, and welcome to Unlocking Real Estate, My First Commission. I'm your host, Tina Lapp, and I've been in real estate education for over 30 years, helping individuals enter and thrive in their new career.
Hello everyone, my name is Mark Ruff. I am Tina's co-host today. I'm a licensed real estate broker in the state of California. I was licensed originally in 1988, and I also teach real estate classes here in the school. And I also teach classes for the state of Washington up there. So I'm glad to be with you here today, Tina. It's going to be a lot of fun.
We are here today with Matt Salgado. Matt, will you take a moment to introduce yourself, where you live, and what company you're with?
Yes, so I'm Matt Salgado. I've been doing real estate for about almost 5 years now. I'm located in northwestern Indiana in the Crown Point location with Realty Executives Premier.
Fantastic. You know what, Matthew, it's kind of curious to me because when I got started in real estate, first of all, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And then I got a kind of spark to get my real estate license. What were you doing actually before you got started in real estate? And then what was the spark that kind of made you get your license and jump in?
Yeah. So before I got into real estate, I had a lot of jobs, I will tell you. I mean, you name one thing, I did it. I worked at Shoop's, it was like a burger joint. I worked at Dunkin' Donuts, it was a coffee place. I worked at Hollister as a Hollister boy. You know, that was great. Worked at Hollister. I mean, I worked, my last job before I got into real estate was Nothing But Cakes. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that company. You know, it's a bakery. Mm-hmm. Right? Okay. Right. So I worked there from 2019 till 2021, and I love the experience. Now, I will tell you, I gained a little bit of weight when I was there, but it was the best weight I think I ever gained in my life. What really sparked me wanting to go into real estate, it's really a good story. So my mother, Carol Dobrzynski, she's our team leader. She been in real estate for about 22 years now. She started in 2003. And in that time frame, I was born in 2001. I know, I am very young. But she started in 2003. And when the recession happened, I was about 5 years old. And during that time, you know, my parents were getting a divorce. You know, the real estate market was crashing. I honestly got sick because I have epilepsy. So everything was crashing on top of my mom. So, you know, we didn't have really the funds for her to get a babysitter. So when she would go on listings, appointments, meetings, office time, floor time, they used to call it at the time. And I don't know if they still call it now, but they do. If they do, cool. But I really, really was going with her everywhere she went. So it's kind of within my blood, but this was the really given moment that I knew once I graduated high school and turned 18, I'm going for my real estate license. I will never forget, she worked at RE/MAX for about 13 years. And when I was 7 years old, you know, she was moving into an office. I don't know exactly why, but she was moving. And there was her desk, and there was another desk against the wall, and there was a phone. And I remember she was getting settled in, and I went to the other desk, and there was a phone. And I picked it up, and I said, "Thank you so much for calling RE/MAX Realty. This is Matt Salgado. How can I help you?" And just
right
boom.
There.
I knew for a fact, this is what I'm made for. I knew it. You know what I mean? I really, really did know it. And my mom, when she saw me do it, she looked at me and she was like, "Baby, you want to be a real estate agent like your mom, don't you?" And I was just like, no. I want to be a real estate agent, but I want to be the real estate agent. That's what I want to be.
Thanks for sharing that, Matthew. That's really a great story, kind of like that light bulb moment. Would you agree then that it's clear that your mom is probably your main influence or your mentor in the business?
Absolutely. I definitely do think that because, even despite everything, even the walls caving on top of her, she did not let it stop her from pursuing what she loved, and that was real estate. And, now, we're the number one in the MLS, we're the number one, we close over 200 transactions. She really, really just came on top and didn't let anyone stop
Fantastic.
her.
Thanks for
Truly.
that. Thanks for that.
So out of high school, you're working all kinds of different jobs, and you are a natural at real estate. It sounds like you're ready to jump in. Walk me through the process of getting your license. How long after high school did you do it, and how did you decide to start taking classes?
Yeah. So right when I graduated high school, I was like, I want to enroll immediately. Like not even 2 weeks after I graduated, I was enrolled into real estate. Yeah. Yeah. And, there was a program you could either do 1 month or you could do 2 month. And, I didn't want to do 1 month because I didn't want to rush the process too much and also overwhelm myself because I still have my personal life outside of here. So I enrolled into the 2 month program, and I was with Macaulay Real Estate in Crown Point. And, I know we had to take it was like 3 tests out of 300 points. And, you have to pass, I think, 225 to pass. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not the best at test taking, not going to lie. But my memory is very great. So I remember my first test. Oh, my God. I thought I had it in the bag, and I got like a 57. I was like, like, that's not the good first impression, like off to a rough start. So I really, really was like, okay, if I really want this, I got to work towards it. Like, I really got to dedicate my time, because I thought it was like, oh, this is easy, wrong. And I really went hard at it. And I know my last test, they were like, Matt, you got to get a 92 to 93%. You don't make it, you have to retake the test. Over my dead body was I going to go through this process again. And there was no way. So I really sat down, and I was in my room 12 hours a day, just reading and studying over and over and over again. And, that's when I was like, I got to do this. So I took the test. I got, I think, a 94. Oh my gosh! You should have saw my reaction. I ran out of the the office or the school, and I just cried. And I called my mom. I said, "Oh my God, you have no idea." She's like, "Why are you crying?" Because I'm not an emotional person like that. And she was like, "Mom, I just passed my test." And she was screaming. And my mom's not like that type of person either. She's not a crying, screaming person, but she was so happy.
That's incredible, and congratulations! I will tell you, anyone in real estate will tell you, the passing the exam, a lot of people aren't good test takers, but it's not an indication of how well you're going to do in the business by any
Absolutely
means.
not.
So, good for you for having that ambition and continuing to go. Did you take your classes in the classroom or online?
Classroom.
Okay.
Another weakness of mine, I cannot do online. I cannot. I need to be in person, and someone really showed me the material that I need to learn in order to get where I need to go.
Yeah. Right. And is that how you chose the provider to go to, because they offered classroom for you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you stay in touch with anyone that you were in class with?
Yeah. Actually, there's about 2 people. So there is this guy named Fernando. He services, of course, I service over there, but we call him the king of East Chicago and Hammond. He loves working over there. So he got into real estate. We're still, buddies. We see each other at events, that's that. And then I have this woman named Chanel. She was already an Illinois agent, but she wanted to get her Indiana license, which she did, and she's killing it as well. So seeing, we always feed off each other. Like, remember when we were at this point of our lives, and look at us now, we're just killing in the market. You know what I mean? So we really do uplift each other up.
That's great. And being able to make those connections and go through it with other people in the classroom's got to be a nice little perk of classroom. So you're going through this, and you for sure know the challenge of balancing taking classes with going to the classroom. How'd you do it? How'd you balance that challenge and get through it all?
Well, it definitely was very hard because, you're coming out of high school and you're so used to, okay, you have a structure. Someone's telling you what to do. Monday through Friday, go to school, after school, homework, playtime. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So really to change that lifestyle, because I got out of high school and jumped right into it, it was very hard. And that's why my first test didn't go well, because, I thought I had it, just like high school. You got it. The answers are right in front of you. And this one was not. You do have some of the answers, but you really have to dedicate your time. So once I really got that first test and I failed it, that right then and there, I was like, your mindset needs to change or you're not going to make it. You're not. It's really like fight or flight type of thing. So right when that happened, that's when I was like, okay, going out with friends, doing this, doing that needs to stop. But also the thing is too, for me to really dedicate it, I stopped working at Nothing But Cakes. I had to stop. And so I have no income and, I really have a time frame I have to meet in order to get to my next step. And, that really was a thing too. So I failed the first test. I don't have a job. I'm still trying to live this lifestyle that I can't live right now. Lock in. You got to go, and also obviously my mother was pushing me too. Like, listen, you're my son, I want you to be the next me or better. That's my whole goal. I need you to take this serious or this is really not for you. And I knew college wasn't for me either. So it was like, I really have no other plan. This is it. And that's it, and I didn't want to start over and be that. And I know it sounds crazy, but to be with the mother of number one in the MLS, but failing, I was like, no. That's where I really got my mindset at and changed it.
Yeah. Well, let's briefly talk about kind of like that next step, Matthew. You got your real estate license, you made the decision, you had the spark, you had the drive, you did the classes, you got your license, and now you're freshly minted. I think kind of what we really want to focus on for just a moment here is talk to us about that first year, because as you know, the first week, the first month can be very critical. When you're starting any type of a sales business, you have to kind of hit the ground running. But walk us through that first year. Number one, did you have an expectation that you would actually close 35 deals your first year and $6.5 million of volume? Or did you just say, if I close 10, I'm happy? Talk to us about that first year, the expectation, and then what was that like?
Yeah. So when I passed everything and got into real estate, I had no idea what I was stepping in. Truly, I had no clue. I didn't know I was going to make that my first year, truly. I knew at that time the market was still super hot, tons of showings, obviously offering over whatever price it could be. I mean, I knew that was going on and, it was hot, but I didn't think I was going to meet that type of status, truly. I was like, okay, I'm going to learn off of my mentor. That's, my mother, but am I going to be just like her? Or do I have to learn or kind of figure out my own rhythm,
Yeah.
And once I did get my first couple clients and showing houses and all that, I got comfortable and I was like, okay, this is not as, intense as I thought it's going to be, but you still got to work hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what my strategy really was and my expectation, what I did was that I know a lot of agents in this industry, their first, or the couple of years they've been in it, if you're not pre-approved, I'm not showing you a house. For me, wrong. I think if anything, talking to someone over the phone, it's very hard to get to know someone if they're not in front of you,
Right.
and to show your personality and what you bring to the table, because, you talk to those telemarketers and it's like, ugh, like, I don't want to talk to them, but they could be a whole different type of person that you meet and that could really change your life. So I would always say, hey, give them a freebie, meet them in person, see what, how you can help them and really show what you bring to the table. So when I kind of figured out that strategy, I knew I was going to take off then because I'm a people's person. It's very easy for me, but going back to the expectation, I had no idea. But once I really got my rhythm, I knew I was going to take off.
Got it. Thanks for that. I appreciate that. Now talk to me just for a moment about, you got your license, you're prospecting, you're doing your work. How long did it take you to actually close your first deal and get paid? From the moment you walked into the office until you got a check in the bank. How long did that take?
On my first deal?
Yeah.
I would say my first deal, it took about almost 45 days.
45 to close.
Yep.
Wow, that's fast.
Yeah.
So did you walk into the office with some contracts already kind of ready to go?
When I was going to write the offer?
Yeah. Or just maybe having a listing, because closing in 45, that's fast.
Yeah. Well,
That's
I will tell you.
phenomenal.
Yeah. So when I had a buyer. That was my first transaction. And, I showed him a couple houses, but, once we really found the one he liked, usually I have my computer all the time. So all I had to do was really go to like a near Starbucks. And I was like, let's sit down and break it all down, So that's how I usually carry my contracts, I guess you say. It's my laptop. You guys know everything's digital at this point. You really don't need paper copies unless you really need to break it down to someone. So I remember I went to Starbucks, we sat down, we wrote the offer and we sent it in. Now, initially, it was a 30-day contract. But There were some delays because what was the problem? I think the loan was taking a little bit longer to get the clear to close, so we had to extend it. I don't know exactly what was going on. I mean, that was so long ago, but it took a little bit, and eventually we had to close, but it turned into 45 days.
Got it. Okay, thanks for that. Now, as you're kind of going through, you closed your first deal, which was a buyer. Did you discover that you wanted to primarily focus with buyers? Did you kind of segue into focusing on sellers? What were kind of the target markets that you were going after, primarily in that ramp up period in the first year?
I will say in the first year, I loved working with buyers. I really, really did. You know why? Because, again, there's this stigma that, working with first-time home buyers is so hard and I hate it. There is a lot of agents out there. I won't sugarcoat it. But what I love about them is, you look at, okay, you're going to sell them a $135,000 house. It's not a 400. I didn't care about that.
Right.
I cared about, working with them because they're so nervous. And this is their first time working with anyone.
Right.
If you show off the first impression and they love you, the next time they want to expand their family, get a bigger house, their business takes off, that $135,000 house could be the $1.5 million house in 3 years.
Right.
You never know.
Right.
So I did not like when, some agents would say, oh, our listings, everything. Listings are cool. You know what I mean? All you really got to do is, list a property and answer some calls. Yeah. But I like having the buyer side. That goes a long way too. And now when it came to listings, I'm being honest with you. I was scared. I was really scared because, yes, on the buying side, you're selling yourself. But at that time, when you go on the listing appointments, you have 5 agents going against you.
Yeah.
Little old me, my first year, and then you're going against a 20-year agent. I was so frightened. So I was like, you know what? I'll stick with the buyer side. Let me get some more experience under my belt, and then I'll jump into it. What I'm saying is I wasn't confident at that time. I wasn't.
Got it. Okay. Well, you certainly overcame that doubt. There's no doubt about it. Now then, if you kind of focused primarily on buyers during the initial ramp up of your business, maybe kind of in that first year, how did you find them? And then number 2, how did you create the loyalty so that they would stick with you? How did you find those buyers?
Well, with our team, we do purchase Zillow leads. So we do have a lot of zip codes, a lot. Because, when my mother first started getting into the, Zillow, it was 2014, 2015. And that's when it was super cheap. Now, if you want to buy zip codes, it's thousands of dollars, super expensive because everyone wants them, Right. And again, everything's so digital. You look at Zillow, it says request a tour. It launches out to whatever local agent and, they'll connect you with. So that was my lead gen. And like I mentioned, the loyalty, what really came with it is when I met them in person and didn't make it seem like, well, if you're not pre-approved, you're not worth my time. You make it seem like that. And what it comes off, if I was on the other side of the phone, you're just here for your check and you really don't want to get to know me. You really don't care about my needs. And you really don't care what, means the most to me is, and also the biggest thing that I have to do in my life is purchasing a home.
Right.
You don't want to come off, what I'm saying is salesman-y.
Yeah.
No. You want to be personal. So when I would meet them in person, I would tell them like, hey, let's sit down. Let's talk about your needs, your wants of what you need. And let me tell you a little bit about me. I'm very transparent. I'm very honest. I'm not here to sugarcoat. I want what's best for you because I act like I'm the one purchasing the home. Yeah. If I see that there's seepage, electrical issues, this and that, I'm going to let you know. At the end of the day, it's your decision, but I'm really here to work for you and hopefully carry on this relationship later on. I mean, I've been to Thanksgivings, Christmases, birthdays, celebrations with clients, even outside, and made friendships and, family relationships, I mean, I remember when I would work with my clients and they bring their mom and dad. At the end of the transaction, you're my mom and you're my dad too,
Thanks. I appreciate that. Now, let me ask you just another couple questions here. And then Tina's going to have some other questions for you as well. Sadly, I think in the beginning of a real estate career, a lot of agents don't really recognize the lifetime value of one client. So you're working with $135,000 buyers. Maybe in 3 years, they're $400,000. Maybe in another 3 years, they're another $600,000 with all those referrals coming in and out. So I applaud that to you. Now, in that first year, other than your mom, was there somebody perhaps in the office who was kind of like guiding you, a little angel perhaps there on your shoulder, kind of guiding you, other than your mom? Anybody else?
I will tell you, my managing brokers, they were really, really, and still to this day, my cheerleaders.
Got it.
One of the managing broker, there's Mike and there's Pam. But Pam, we were just literally talking this past week. And she said this in the beginning too. She said, this is for you. This is your passion. I know you're going to make it. I know you're going to kill it. This is even before and now. She's like, you're made for this. No one else is going to be not no one else, but it's just, you're very passionate. If you walk into a job, you're not walking into it to make money. You're walking in it because you're passionate about it. And I see that within you. You're going to make it. And she said, if you ever need help, me and Mike are here. I got you. And ever since I met them till now, they've always had my back and cheered me on the sidelines. And those were really my mentors. And anything I need or any questions, if obviously my team leader is not available, or even if she is, and I want a different perspective, they're always there. Truly.
Got it. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So Matt, what sort of social media, what other things did you do to market yourself the first year?
So my first year, we had an assistant, we have a marketing person as well that works for my real estate company. So I would market a lot because, this is what I always do when I make a, Instagram post. So I would do Instagram, Facebook, TikTok now, Twitter. I would post all the time, different things, and also our assistant would make, to-do lists, not to-do lists on this when you're purchasing a home, and, so many different marketing tools. So I use that a lot. But the biggest thing that really, really got, people talking about me is that we have what's called billboards. And I would purchase them, and you have no idea. I would get friends, family, and even outside of, my friends and family clients, even past, they're like, oh my God, I just saw you on a billboard. That's so cool. So excited. So, when they would see that, I would get a lot of referrals because, they would call me the big time. He's on billboards. And, I got a lot of traction by that. So you would think social media, but the billboards really got people talking.
Wow, that is a great tip. So as you're going through your first year and you've got a great support system, which is wonderful. Did you do any additional training voluntarily, or did you how'd you learn the actual process?
Yeah, so I would say it's good to have like a team leader. But I also, my company and other companies and associations that I work with would offer a lot of training. And I know that, some people would be like, oh, that's stupid. I don't want to go. I'm on a team. But I think if anything, educating yourself is very important. One thing that someone told me before is if you know your contracts, you got it for life. You got it. Even if you do know your contracts change all the time. And, you hear different advice. Educate yourself as much as you can. So I would go to different events, learn more about the purchase agreements, learn more about the listing agreements, learn this, learn that. I would go to a bunch of events, loan officer events, title events, association events. That's how I really got to know everything and teach myself. I love going outside of my comfort zone and asking the questions, and maybe it could be dumb questions, but the thing is too, and a lot of them would say, there's no dumb questions here, but again, that was just the confidence that I did not have my first year, but I did it.
You did it and you persevered, and it's amazing. So all of that, you're busy, you're driving your business forward. What were your biggest challenges your first year?
My biggest challenges, I would say, if anything, is winning over. I mean, when I would meet clients, it was nice and all, but a lot of them was winning their business. The reason why I say that is because, I would get the question a lot because I looked younger. They would say, how long have you been doing this business for? Oh my goodness. And, I could, again, be going against other agents that maybe they met in the past. And I would say 3 months, 3 months, 5 months, and, they would look at me and be like, oh, okay. It was very hard because I had to work harder to win their business. That was really, really hard for me. So that was one challenge that I came across. But also too, like I mentioned to you, just the confidence boosts to go in front of someone, that was very, very hard for me. I am a people's person, but again, when you don't know someone and you're going into a house, that was hard. But I would say those are really my two challenges. Everything else I really did get,
Yeah. And it sounds like you've overcome both of them in a beautiful way. Talk to me a little bit about how you overcame both of those challenges.
Like I mentioned, I think once I got the hang of it and I learned, learn the contracts, I'm going to say it as whoever can hear me, learn the contracts. Once you really got that, when someone tries to correct you or someone tries to say this, say that, you could say line 132, once you get that, you really have that down. So, I mean, that's really the only thing that did help me. Again, I got my confidence up there, but also when I knew the contracts and I knew exactly what it said, no, I'm telling you right now, Tina, no one can touch me. I had it down.
I love it. I love it. And it sounds like when you were questioned that you're relatively new in the business and that was a challenge, you won them over by following up, meeting them in person, offering great service. Like all those things seem to make a big difference, huh?
Yes, absolutely. Staying in touch with your clients is the biggest thing you want to do because, communication is everything. They want to know that you're working for them and that you didn't just show one house and then you want to wait for your phone to ring. You cannot do that. You have to stay in touch. You have to follow up. And I will tell you, in my notes, I have all my clients and the last conversation we had, they said they'll get back to me about this showing. Oh, they said they're waiting. Oh, this is the time frame they're going to start looking. I have all of that. So I have like pending contracts, coming soon listings, coming soon buyers, waiting for approval, monthly, weekly. I have everything. Stay organized and you'll be great.
That's awesome. So any fun or memorable experiences from your early days where you were still learning?
What do you mean by that? Like
just something funny, maybe a blooper, something you did wrong, or something that maybe stands out. We're all human, right? It happens.
Let me think. Oh my gosh. This is when I was really new. I knew nothing about houses, I will tell you. I remember we were looking at a house and they had now that I know, it was like a sewage cover. This is a cover to make it look nice, not like it's a sewer in the back. And they were asking me, they were just like, Matt, hey, what's that? What's that right there? I had no clue. I was like, at the time, I knew nothing. I was like, this is my second week into real estate. Like, I don't know. So I remember I got Carol, team leader, on the phone and I had her on speaker. I was like, hey, Carol, so what is that? And my mom was just like, Matt, that's a sewer cover. And the way this client looked at me, like, you for real don't know that? I was like, thanks. I got it.
Yeah.
Got it. No worries. I was so embarrassed. Like, are you serious? You don't know that there's a cover over the sewer? Like, that was some easy common sense that you should know. Yeah. I had no idea. Embarrassing for sure,
Yeah. Well, and our audience is all probably sharing these same anxieties. And what if I don't know? And I'm not going to be able to make it. And look at you. Like, okay, you didn't know that, but look at you now. Right? Like you learn, everyone starts somewhere. So that's great. And one more question for you. Any particular transaction that stands out to you? I heard maybe you had an international client that had some challenges. You could talk about that or any other that stands out to you?
Yeah, there's two of them.
Okay.
So this was cool. I had this client that reached out to me via email, and she was telling me that she was interested in a Chesterton property here in Indiana. And, when we chatted about the property, they're like, hey, is there any way you could video chat? And, I don't mind doing virtual tours. It's never an issue, but I just never had a client want to video chat like the first call, because usually it's calling their local, whatever.
Yeah.
When she called me, we were talking, me and her husband and her, and I was like, just a question for you guys, because they didn't look like they were in Indiana. I was like, where are you guys located? They said South Africa. And wow. I was like, my main question I always ask when I get referrals and stuff like that too, I always say, how did you guys find me? Like, locate me. And they said, well, we went on to Zillow and we wanted to know the number one team that was in, services Chesterton, Indiana. And, we looked at your team. And you were the number one agent, that was next to Carol. They didn't know it was my mom at the time. And we looked at your reviews and you did a lot of business and, we wanted to go with you. And behind the phone, after I hang up, I'm like, oh my God, yeah. Me? You picked me? Like, out of everyone, like, here, you wanted to pick me, little old me. Like, at that time, I was still young and I was like, oh my gosh, And they were like, yep, you just stand it out to us. You looked like you loved your job and you had good reviews and everyone was just singing your praises. So, we wanted to go with you and be close. That was like a $430,000 transaction. And I was super appreciative that they picked me because they could have picked anyone but me, So that was number one. And again, they were from South Africa. What? Yeah, I was, oh my gosh. That was the one. Then my biggest transaction I had was I met my friend now, but my client We went to the gym together. I go to Orange Theory in Crown Point. And, we hit it off, a lot. And she had to sell her house and purchase another one. And my biggest transaction that I have, which, I thank her for giving me the opportunity, was a $1.5 million house. That was my biggest house I've ever sold. And, the fact that she gave me the opportunity, it made me feel amazing. You know what I mean? And I said this to Carol. I said to her, I said, so at this point, I've been doing it for 3 years. You've been doing it for 20. And I closed $1 million house and you haven't yet. And, we were just like laughing about it, like pretty much like I'm better. But no, totally kidding. You know what I mean? But it was just super, super exciting. So those 2 experiences I'll never forget. And with that house, it was a 7-bed, 9-bath, 4-story home, 9,000 square feet. Me walking in there just like, oh my, I've never been in that size of a house. It was super, super nice. So those are the 2 experiences I'll cherish forever.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for that, Matt. Really appreciate it. I have just a couple more questions. I'm just kind of curious. You've had some amazing initial success. I mean, by any standard, an agent who's in the business for 5 or 10 years often doesn't achieve what you achieved your first year. So where do you see yourself maybe in the next 5 years after this initial success in the beginning? Where's that picture taking you?
I would say, if anything, in the next 5 years, I definitely do want to expand. I would love to expand to different markets.
Okay.
Indiana is nice, but I would love to really go into, like California market, Arizona market, Florida market, New York. You ever see those $1 million listings? I think his name, I don't remember his name, but he's all over the country. I would love to be there at that point.
Got it. Okay, so take the template that you've used to achieve your initial success, parachute into a different city, and apply that template there. Yeah?
Absolutely.
Got it. Okay.
Like it's like a pin.
Yeah, I hear you. Now, do you have any, perhaps kind of wrapping this up, do you have any tips or tricks or strategies maybe a first-year agent, they just got their license, they're brand new. Give us some tips or some strategies for them to apply their first year. What would you advise?
Well, I would say, don't second guess yourself. Be confident, act like you know your stuff, and really trust your gut. You got it. Don't question yourself. There is going to be mistakes, hiccups during the process. You're not perfect. There is going to be that, you just have to learn from them. That's number 1. Number 2, communication's everything. Mm-hmm. Staying in front of your clients. What I would do to really stay in front of them, send them calendars, anniversary cards, remember their birthdays, really, really stay in touch with them. Even if, and don't follow up 3 times and be done. Be there, be present. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And like I said, I would just say, know your contracts, like I mentioned 1,000 times. And I would say, you'll make it far. That's really the biggest things that I've learned that carried with me to get me to where I am,
Got
and,
it.
You'll be so successful. I promise you.
Great advice. Really appreciate it. Really, really good stuff.
Yeah, great stuff. So, Matt, we're going to have some fun and jump into our lightning round. I'm going to ask you a question, answer it right away. First thing that comes to your mind, 60 seconds or less. We're going to get to know a little bit more about you. So,
okay.
The first one I'm going to ask, is there a book or a podcast that you've read or listened to that you might recommend to folks, real estate related or otherwise?
I will say we do have another team that's within my company, and it's Alex Nicola. He has a podcast that I listen to a lot.
Okay. And what is it about his podcast that you like?
It's about a lot of things. He teaches us, because he doesn't do any leads. So he really teaches us how to, reach out to different markets. He really goes after business owners locally. And I love that how he structures it a lot, and, how he's so personal, and just different strategies that he does. I mean, recently he sold one of the biggest houses in Cedar Lake. It was like $2 million. And, it wasn't any leads. It was just personal clients and how he stayed in front of them. I love that. That was great.
Yeah, it's a great one. So if we had a time machine and you could go back to the day you started this journey, what advice would you give yourself, or what might you do differently?
What I might do differently? Oh my God, I'm sucking at this. I'm sorry. What I would do differently is that before I would answer the calls and never talk to them again. in the beginning. I would, and not in a bad way. It's just I didn't know the business that much. Mm-hmm. If I could tell myself to, what I would do is stay in front of them, because I will tell you guys this, whoever's listening to me, my first year I made a mistake. I would talk to them and not reach back out to them. I lost 44 transactions that could have been mine.
Wow.
And I lost them because I learned after like the 3 months that already went by that I didn't stay in front of them. I lost all that business, not only for me, but my team as well, because that could have been their business too.
Yeah, it's great advice, without a doubt. So if you could have dinner with one person, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
You got me there, Tina. You got me there stuck.
You know what, Matt? You could just say it's me. We could do some planning.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Next time we talk, think about that one. We'll come back to it next time.
Yes.
What'd you do at work yesterday?
What did I do at work yesterday? Well, I showed houses to my clients. So I showed my client, I showed her in Dyer, I showed her in Crown Point, I showed her in St. John, and then I went all the way to Chesterton to go show another client some houses. So I really wasn't in the office. I was just sitting in my car, just driving.
Which probably happens often, right?
Yeah. My client was riding with me because she's like, Matt, I don't have any sense of direction, so can I just drive with you? I was like, absolutely. We're just jamming out to music.
That's great. It's great. So where can listeners or viewers connect with you or follow your journey?
So I have my TikTok. It's me, Matt Realtor 219. I have my business account, but it's kind of still personal. It's just going to be my first name and last name. Once you look it up, you'll see it. It goes by Matthew, not Matt.
Okay.
And then I do have my Instagram, and it's going to be Matt Salgado. Matt Realtor 219.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Well, listen, everybody, Matthew Salgado, thank you so very, very much for taking some time to speak with us today. Tina and I are just enamored at your energy and your presence, not only on camera here, but we can tell that you bring this energy to your clients. You achieved some amazing success your very first year, exceeding 5th and 10th year agents. And oh, by the way, people, if you missed it, he dropped 40 transactions for lack of follow-up. He could have closed over 70 transactions his first year, and it taught him a very expensive lesson. The money, the big money in this business is in the prospecting and the follow-up. Well, Matthew, thank you so very much from Crown Point, Indiana. My goodness. Thank you for being with us today. We really appreciate it. For those of you who are interested in learning more, Tina has a podcast here with a lot of different people who are there to help you in your first year. Take a look at some of the other podcasts. Matthew, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, guys. It was a pleasure. Have a good one.
Thanks, Matt.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Unlocking Real Estate, My First Commission. We hope today's stories and insights inspired you to take that next step in your real estate journey. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode, or head over to our channel to see some of the other content we've produced. We'd also love to hear from you. Drop a comment below with your biggest takeaway or a question for our next guest. If you have a recommendation for someone we should interview, please send a note to unlockingrealestate@colibrirealestate.com.